Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. We've got David Sirota on. He's got a fantastic piece about the way the Democrats continue to break their promise and negotiate themselves down from the very clear promise that was made for $2,000. We'll dig into that. The latest, there are some new bad developments there. We also have Brandon Cockadin on. He's a reporter who's been covering the whole GameStop situation and what is going on there from a business mechanics perspective. And that is, in fact, where we want to start with because there are some major developments.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay, let's start from the very beginning, which is what happened when we were on the show, literally filming yesterday, which is that Robinhood put out a statement. Let's put this up there on the screen. They said, in light of current market volatility, we are restricting transactions for certain securities to position closing only on AMC and GME. They later expanded that to include BlackBerry, Nokia, and I believe that there was one other stock included. Immediately, this raised a lot of eyes, Krystal. Number one, because Robinhood's entire thing was democratization of finance, let the people trade. They literally tweeted that back in 2016. What a joke. It turns out, what people are saying, and again, I'm going to keep hammering this in the show, Robinhood, if you are using Robinhood, you are not their customer. They may refer to you as their customer, but you are not. You're the product because it's free. So what they do is they take your data, your trading data, and they sell it to hedge funds on Wall Street so that they can front run your trade, so that they can short, so that they can see what you are doing and use that to inform their trades. And I don't think there's not enough clarity around that business model.
Yes.
And we're finding it out the hard way because when it came down to it, even though it was not in the interest of their users to stop trading, the Wall Street funds who were getting hosed by Robinhood users were like, hey, you got to shut this down, man. And so that's basically what happened.
What happened?
You can see with the level of losses. Let's put the level of losses up there on the screen. They're now at $70 billion in U.S. firm losses on short positions nationwide, which is absolutely crazy. And almost every hedge fund in the country, I believe, has suffered some major loss whenever it comes to these things. So you can see, again, why they pressured Robinhood in order to do this.
Well, and they also were hosed because remember how this whole thing started? The reason that GameStop was targeted by Redditors was because they recognized that these hedge funds had shorted 140%.
They were extraordinarily reckless and greedy. So that's what happened.
That's exactly right. So they weren't satisfied with like a very large profit. They had to drive GameStop absolutely into the ground and potentially force them into bankruptcy. So they had shorted more of the stock than exists.
Yes.
That means that they are out there on a ledge when they have to close their position. And if not enough people are willing to sell them the stock, they're screwed. So this essentially by saying, look, you can only close out your position, you can't buy this stock anymore, this is allowing those hedge funds to be able to cover. I mean, that's literally what it is here. It's just straight up, we're going to make this impossible to do anything other than benefit the hedge funds. It's outrageous. And that is like, we're going to talk about a few other elements of this story, but that is the thing that is becoming so clear. You and I have long thought that the economy was rigged.
Yes.
I'm not sure even I realized the extent of the cabal.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot more direct and a lot more sort of like an actual conspiracy than I even imagined here. We're going to get to this in a minute. Maybe we can go ahead and throw this tear sheet up on the screen. But then Google comes in. Everybody's pissed off at Robinhood.
Yeah, let's put D up there. Yeah.
Everybody's pissed off at Robinhood, rightly so. And so they start writing negative reviews. 100,000 negative reviews, 1-star rating. Google drops in and says, oh, we're going to delete all those negative reviews and make sure that you can keep your pristine rating. Like, once again, just a direct conspiracy between this cabal to protect people who are already wealthy and powerful.
What drives me crazy about this is, look, I actually think all speculation should be banned. That might be unpopular with some of the Wall Street bets people and Reddit, but I think this is bad. This is a bad way in order to allocate capital. But if it's going to be legal for these guys to do it all day long, face no consequences in that, and then they're going to make it illegal or at least impossible for you to try and compete on that playing field, then this is bullshit, right? Like that's really what it is. And so we need to have if I hope anything constructive comes from this, is I want regular people to know how rigged everything is against them. And we should make it be like, yeah, actually, a lot of these people should be paying a lot more in taxes on almost every single thing that they do. And they've rigged the entire regulatory system and tax infrastructure to make it so that they get away with this with outrageous profits and never face any calls or any scrutiny. And that they can use their power, this is oligarchy, in order to control private businesses, to control what you do and make sure that you never get a chance to try and do what they do. And that is the part that drives me nuts. And the Robinhood CEO is exactly one of these people who's become a real villain overnight, which I think is hilarious. And it appeared on CNBC in which he tried to justify his decision. Let's take a listen.
There was no liquidity problem. And to be clear, this was done preemptively. So we did this proactively. And thousands of other securities remain tradable on the platform. Customers that held these positions were able to sell them. And we're doing what we can to allow buying and to remove these restrictions in the morning. Of course, Robinhood stands for everyday investors. From the very beginning, we have stood for investors, opening up access and giving them the ability to trade commission-free in whatever they want. And we've gotten a lot of criticism that, maybe there should be more restrictions.
Okay, I'm not going to call him a liar, but I'll just tell you this. He claims that there was no liquidity problem. Literally yesterday, Robinhood had to raise $1 billion in emergency funds as the platform struggles with a surge in trading. And as you and I were talking about, if they had a liquidity problem, that actually might have been a better answer. Instead, they just put it out there. They looked very clearly to seem to be working on behalf of their actual customers, who are people on Wall Street. And it wasn't just them. It was almost every broker for average retail investors in the country. I think Vanguard at one point was the only one where Vanguard of all places, where you could try and go buy some GameStop stock. But again, it just comes down to, who do these people work for? They work for them. They are the ones who have the power. When is the last time a trading exchange said, hey, you know what, billionaires, you guys have been front running and screwing with our markets. Right. It's
too much manipulation.
NASDAQ could do this if they wanted to. Remember, they have total control. NASDAQ could shut down high-frequency trading tomorrow. They're not going to do that because that's how they make all their money. That's how they make all of their microtransactions. They literally allow people to game the system by being closer to their servers so they can beat your and my trades whenever they get there. That's what I mean when I say the system's actually rigged. And if we're going to go after this, that's what we have to target, which is that we have to make it so there are real consequences for the billionaires whenever they take actions like this, because otherwise we just have a total Wild West of a market only for the rich and a highly regulated one for the poor.
And that's never going to happen because we know where the overwhelming majority of politicians get their money, the class that they see themselves as part of, the people that they socialize with. We're going to cover Janet Yellen later on, the Treasury Secretary, and the money that she's taken, $800,000 from one of the top figures at the center of this whole dispute. I mean, look, this is very simple. It's heads they win and tails you lose. No matter what you do. And there's a great quote that I was reminded of, and it basically goes like, those who do not move don't notice their chains. And what happened here is people tried to move. And when they tried to move, these Redditors, and exploit this one little thing that they could do totally legally with the system architected in the rigged ass way that it is, the minute they try to move, you see exactly where the chains are. And that is the really valuable thing to come out of all of this, is it completely exposes just how fake and just how rigged the entire system is. And by the way, that comes on top of a year after a year in which we saw a lot of that as well. Because look, these hedge funds, Matt Taibbi tweeted this out this morning. He's got a new piece up on his Substack about it. The top 20 hedge funds had their largest profits in a decade. While you were losing your job and struggling to feed your family and worried about getting evicted from your home, they were raking it in. Why? Exactly because of this. Because this entire thing is rigged and fake, and it is rigged for their benefit 100%.
Just an example, Citadel, that firm that I'd be talking about later, which is linked to Janet Yellen having paid her $800,000 for a speaking fee, they made $6.7 billion this year on market volatility. $6.7 billion. And now, at least some lawmakers are beginning to team up, although that effort is already beginning to fray. Let's put this up there on the screen, which is lawmakers from AOC to Ted Cruz to Mike Lee, Libertarian, to Sherrod Brown,
populist.
Sherrod Brown, a populist Democrat, who is the chairman now of the Senate Banking Committee, something I'm actually pretty excited about, are all going to be holding hearings and have vowed in order to try and do something. Is that going to happen? Is anything actually going to happen from it? I don't think so. We've seen how the big tech hearings are. I can't wait until like Chuck Grassley or someone's like, now how do you make money? So
lots of grandstanding.
How is it free? Or some BS grandstanding or something. But it's something. People deserve to be called in front of Congress in order to answer for what they've done here.
Indeed. So I regret to inform you. The good thing is that there's lots of politicians who are jumping onto this bandwagon and see that it's in their cynical interest. Some of them are genuine. I put Sherrod Brown, AOC. There's a lot of people who are actually genuine in this. There's a lot of people who are totally cynical in this. Ted Cruz 100% being one of them. So AOC tweets out, "This is unacceptable. We now need to know more about Robinhood's decision to block retail investors from purchasing stock while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stocks as they see fit. As a member of the Financial Services Committee, I would support a hearing if necessary." Ted Cruz retweets that and says, "I fully agree." Then AOC comes back and says, "I am happy to work with Republicans on this issue where there's common ground, but you almost had me murdered 3 weeks ago, so you can sit this one out. Happy to work with almost any other GOP that are not trying to get me killed. In the meantime, if you want to help, you can resign." Okay. This is not about you. And look, I get it. You have every reason in the world to hate Ted Cruz's guts.
I don't like Ted Cruz.
100%. I don't like Ted. Nobody likes Ted Cruz.
Right.
And you in particular, I grant you, have extra special reason to despise Ted Cruz. But the problem here isn't actually about your personal relationship with him and his culpability in what happened in the Capitol. The actual problem with Ted Cruz is that he is 100% complicit in building this rigged system and serving as like being completely in fealty to the people who we're talking about here. That's the real problem. Everyone who voted for the damn corporate tax cuts actually should be a little bit quiet here. Everybody who's been involved in deregulation, everyone who's taken tons of money from Wall Street. I mean, Ted Cruz's wife works at Goldman Sachs.
She's a managing director.
Give me a break. That's the real reason for skepticism here. And I just think that this ends up looking silly. Ted Cruz is not in his office plotting to like murder AOC. And she just ends up looking sort of ridiculous.
Well, it's narcissistic. It was clearly done in order for the retweets and all of that. And look, I mean, working with Ted Cruz probably was a fool's errand from the beginning in terms of getting anything done. All he wants to do is have a hearing where he can grandstand and
100%.
talk about it. It's not like he actually would support any
to whitewash his own complicity in exactly the system we have today.
100%. But that doesn't mean like maybe it's not worth a shot. Look, like you said, the better dunk would have been your wife works at Goldman. If you're willing to actually tax her, then we can talk. Okay? But all right.
We'll wait for that day. All right, more Rising for you after this.